Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
This meeting to order of the Shaftsbury Select Board on Monday, October 3rd, 2022 at 6:30. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything shown on the agenda?
No.
There is a gravel bid proposal. This is just going out to bid. I probably will be one of the persons bidding on it. Minutes. We have minutes for that's let's do them in order. September 12th. That was just a vote on warrants. Entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Moved by Joe, second by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 500. And we also have them for September 19th. I think everybody was here. Tony?
What's that?
You were not here, right? For the 19th, that's right, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 4 people. Motion.
Sorry, so moved.
By Mike.
Second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. Carried 401. Okay, next is warrants. We have payroll warrant number 6 for $25,362.73.
So moved.
Moved by Tony,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, 500. When I opened the meeting, I forgot to say that we've got to add one more thing to the agenda, and that is we have to approve the local emergency management plan municipal adoption form, which I have to sign, but we just want to make it official that you approve me to sign it, okay? Okay, I have check warrant number 9 for $130,035.68.
So moved.
Moved by Tony,
Second.
seconded by Joe. I'll read the items over 1,000. Okay, Caterpillar Financial Services, $11,932.
It's the annual payment on the loan we get an excavator.
Let's see. Edelman Sales,
Edelman Sales is the ATV for the fire department.
okay, $1,950. $19,050, sorry.
I was like, wow, that's cheap.
Yeah,
We got out on that one.
we ought to go out and buy
I didn't
another
think they
one.
needed tires here.
Innovative Service Solutions, $4,840. That's for chloride for the
Right.
roads.
How much was it?
$4,840. MSK Engineering Design, $2,540.
That's the survey for Cole Hall, so we know exactly where we are as we look to make changes here.
New England Municipal Resources, $1,200.
That's our annual portal to access our land records.
Another $5,000 to the same.
That's the entire support system for the Rink system.
Sycamore Landscaping, $2,625. US Bank, $64,675.
That's the second bond payment for the town garage.
Town garage, okay.
Second annual bond payment.
Weaver Excavating, $7,799.
That's just finishing up the project on Maple Hill, the guardrail that we put in.
And that's it. Any discussion?
Did you just say there was going to be a guardrail put in on Maple Hill?
Yes.
Where is that going to be?
Down by, such a long road. I have to look that up for you.
Okay, I
project
didn't
that we wrote
realize
for
that,
you.
okay, I
I don't
didn't even
want that.
realize that that was
Yeah,
something
just a
that was
small one.
happening.
Just a
Okay,
small one to keep it going up. I think it's down by Saligana.
okay,
I have to check the exact
interesting.
location.
But that happened a long time, because I
No,
don't
that was
remember us
just done.
discussing.
You don't mean Maple Hill, you mean Murphy Hill.
Yes, I mean Murphy Hill.
Oh, okay, different, okay, because I was like, I don't remember us
Yeah.
talking about that, Murphy Hill,
That's right.
okay,
I-
thank you
yeah.
for the clarification.
Yeah, I was just on Maple Hill. so-
Okay,
Okay, any discussion on this warrant? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, 500. Announcements. For me, it's the usual. I did get a call from somebody that might be interested in the DRB, but we still need, and he's not gotten back to me. And we still need, even that one person isn't gonna fill it. We need 2 more plus alternates. Does anybody else have any
I
announcements?
have one announcement. It's fall cleanup time in the cemeteries. And the superintendent is asking anyone who decorates any grave sites in the town cemeteries to remove all decorations by November 1st. Anything not removed by that date will be respectfully disposed of, and perennials will be cut down or trimmed to ground level. So before November 1st, if there's anything at the cemeteries that you would like to collect, please do so, because we do have to clean the cemeteries before the snow falls.
and I have one announcement. The ARPA committee, the American Rescue Plan Act committee, is having a community meeting on October 13th, which is a Thursday at 6 p.m. for folks to hear about the survey that went out and some of the information that's going forward with that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Melanie, treasurer's report, please.
And
Public comments first?
Oh,
public comments.
yeah. I'm sorry, public comments, but if everybody is here to talk about the ordinances, we'll take it at that time unless somebody else wants to have another public comment. Yes,
I have a public comment,
Yep.
Andrea Baki here on Zoom.
yes.
It's more like a question, and one is, thanks Martha for bringing that up. I am the chair of the ARPA committee, and I accidentally forgot to email Art. I emailed the board today with a press release that I wanted to see if you could approve. And I sent to everybody, but I'm sorry, Art, I forgot to email it to you among the crowd. I sent it to Dave as well, but I was just wondering if anybody had a chance to look at it. It's about the meetings that are coming up, not only to you as a select board, for us on the ARPA committee to present the findings, the data, but there is that public meeting coming up. I mean, they're all public. To the public, we're going to present the data for public comment, essentially. I didn't know, did you happen to see the email with the press release coming through to any of the select board members?
Do you have it, Dave?
Yeah,
I
we sent
did.
around to everyone. If everyone hasn't had a chance to read it, if you just read it this evening and send me any comments by tomorrow, then I can just give Avi the approval to send it out.
Okay.
It's just at the ARPA meeting, I just said as a committee of the select board, press releases should really be vetted by the select board before they go out.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I sent it today, and I apologize about the late notice. And Art, and I apologize if I didn't send it to you. I'll make sure to do that in the future. I just
Okay, no
realized.
problem. All right.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay.
Does
Any
Roberta
other-
have a hand up? I can't tell.
Is there another hand up?
Or is that
Is there
just...
anyone else on Zoom who has a statement?
Okay.
No. Okay, it looked like a hand on there, but...
Oh, you know
Okay.
what, that might have been my little...
Oh, it's yours.
My little
Okay,
hand.
cool.
Okay. Now I think we're up to the treasurer's
And
report.
Melanie, my VPN is down, so I can't bring up your
Oh, okay,
so.
okay. Well, I'll just have to do it from memory. I missed the last meeting, and the reason for that was that I have not had any access to anything related to banking for almost a month. But I have some functionality back now, so I am able to, thank you, I am able to deposit checks. That was kind of hanging over my head at tax season. Not to be able to deposit checks was a problem, or transfer money. But now I can do those two things, so I'm back in business. But for people who were giving me tax checks and seeing that they had not cleared, that was the reason. But it seems to be okay now. If you have not received your tax bill out there in Shaftsbury land, please let me know. You should have gotten it weeks ago. I get back on deliverables every day, and you have to pay it even if you don't get it. So if you have not received it, there may be a problem with the address that we have on record. So please give me a call, and I'll get it to you by some other means. Tax day is November 10th, needs to be postmarked by that date. You can pay online, you can pay by check, you can leave it in my box outside 24/7. So without my cash flow, I'll just tell you that the main thing that's going on is taxes are coming in pretty briskly. I think I had about, I don't know, 600,000 in so far in September. I also moved a big chunk of money over that was due to the general fund, so that was in and out. You'll see from the reserve account. Let's see, no delinquent taxes in September. There are a few more water payments coming through that state program that I've talked about a few times. I think they've got 3 more of those getting ready to be processed, so that's very, very good news. I think that's about it. I mean, really, my whole life has been about trying to get the banking situation fixed, but I'm glad to say that it's back, seemingly mostly on board now. Any questions about anything? I know I'm just talking kind of free flow, but any questions about anything in my office?
The important thing is we're solving.
Right.
Yeah, we are solving. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie.
Okay. We are at the point where we're going to take some comments from the public on the ordinances. I suppose, I think the way I'd like to do it is that we'll first take them in order that they're shown. We'll ask the people to make comments and that sort of stuff. We won't get into a debate at this time. We will ask questions for clarity and that sort of stuff. If you feel that there is a legitimate reason why we should discuss it, I would ask that somebody make a motion that we discuss this particular ordinance, okay? We will discuss it, then we'll decide on whether or not we then take another motion to adopt it or table it or not do anything, okay? But I think just to start in, we'll just ask for comments, and if you think that that warrants further discussion, we need a motion to do that, okay?
And are we doing time limits for folks to speak tonight, seeing that we have quite a few folks that are in the public at the moment? Or
I wasn't prepared to do
okay,
that, but
Yeah. We normally don't, we'd like,
we just let
It
folks.
would
Okay, great.
it wasn't
Perfect.
posted, so I don't think it's fair to bring up.
Perfect. Okay.
So, is there anybody who would like to talk about the speed ordinance? That's first showing on the agenda.
and the one request for anyone here is if you want to speak on an ordinance, please take that chair in the middle, so we make sure that you can be heard over Zoom. So anyone have a comment on the town speed ordinance?
I had a phone call.
Oh, we have a hand up here.
Yeah, okay.
This is Joshua Toad. Go ahead, Joshua.
Hi, yeah, this is Joshua Toad. I live on Myers Road and apologize if it was a last minute sort of comment, but my wife happened to come across in the Bennington banner that the town of Shaftsbury was considering raising the speed limit on Myers/Cross Hill, a stretch that will run from Eric to the state line in New York. As someone who uses the street a few times a week, if not daily, for recreating, and I have some concerns about that. More specifically, I don't feel like there should be any incentive for people to go any faster than they already do. I don't think, certainly not everybody, but those who don't respect the speed limit will have more of a cushion, if you will. I think, well, I understand that, the intention is to make the speed limit uniform, not just along Myers, where Myers itself is 35 on one portion and 30 in another, but I guess across the town at large. Well, I understand that. I think the priority might be better served to ensure the safety and the ability to recreate on the street. And I wonder if raising the speed limit from 30 to 35 doesn't really take that into consideration as a primary priority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
Anybody got any questions for him?
Any other comments on Zoom? I thought I saw another hand up. Yes, go ahead. You're on mute. You're coming through as general. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Here we go. Thank you. I have the same concern. I've been trying to be a better citizen and attend more board meetings recently. And it was at a board meeting that I learned about designating certain roads with 25 miles per hour speed limit. Sad to say, it was news to me. I was unaware of the 6-week public comment period. And I, immediately after the meeting, quickly polled as many people as I could on my road. And we were all unaware of the public comment period of time. And in fact, we all feel strongly that the speed limit on Cold Spring Road should be 25 miles per hour for a variety of reasons, which includes the recreation that takes place on that road, the number of large equipment vehicles we have on the road, and in very recent years, we now have 6 little children on our road. I'm very happy to report with the turnover in homes. And I think the road was 25 miles per hour, looking at the speed signs, and there's one that's tipped over. And we would all very much like to see the speed lowered to 25 miles per hour. I have names of those people with me, but tonight I'll just speak for myself. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Excuse me, and Art, how do you feel about that?
Okay, you're putting me on the spot. I think there needs to be some explanation for some of this. I don't think that some of the signs are legal that are out there. I think either the town just put them up or something like that. In order to change the speed of a road, the selectmen just can't say, let's do this. And I think that's what's happened in some cases. So I think even though it says 25, I don't think it's official. I think the speed limit is 35 legally. Also, Dave explained to me that the state has 2 speeds, a 50 mile an hour and a 35, and that if you want to make a road a 25, you have to do an engineering study and come up with criteria that proves that it should be a 25. Now, I don't know how to do that. I think Dave does. And
Yeah.
so just to lower it to 25, we have to do an engineering study, which it may prove that it needs to be a 25, but we just can't automatically make it 25 without a study. Is that right?
So does that mean that an engineering study has to be done for all the roads that I saw on that list at that previous board meeting?
The roads that were actually having this change in speed limit done, which was only a few of those, because you have to reiterate the entire ordinance. Every single road that was 25, you have to repeat in the new ordinance. The object was to get rid of patchwork of ordinances, some are like 40 years old, into one new ordinance. So the low roads that were listed as 25, the majority of those were already 25. So we've added a few more onto 25, and the rest remained 35. And only Myers, I believe, was the only one that went from 30 to a 35. But the engineering study, Art's correct, the state rural road is supposed to be 35. You have to show through an engineering study, and engineering is kind of a loose term in this. There's parameters to work in to come up with reasons to lower a speed limit. And I've taken that on, I did that in prior occupations, and I've done that for speed limit changes in the town and for the sidewalk project over here. So it can be done, it's just a question of it can't just be added to this list. We would need to postpone adoption of this ordinance so that I can look at other roads. And I was saying to Art earlier too, it's not unusual, right when you get up to the adoption meeting, to start hearing questions about proposed ordinances. That's normally the way it goes, which leads to a delay in the adoption, but that's up to the board. There's no way that I can just say, yes, let's include Cross Hill in this, because I have no way to justify that without actually physically going out. And there's all kinds of questions, from even how many driveways enter the road, you know, the elevation, curves. So it takes a little bit of time, but the option here to include or change anything on here is to just table this ordinance for further research into this, and maybe we'll get other people who will say, well, now that this is out more, what about this road?
So Dave, can I clarify?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Andrea, I'll come back to you in a moment. So when we had conversation about Hidden Valley and Maple Hill and Old Depot and Cider Mill Road, I don't recall us talking about engineering studies for any of those roads.
It's all part of the requirement for us to change the ordinance. Then when you
So
come
we
down,
would
like-
do that after, because we
I've already
put it
done it.
in, you've already
I've
done
it for
that?
And Old,
Okay,
like, you take Old Mill, the biggest issue there is the transition from a 25 in Arlington to a straight stretch where the houses start clustering closer together and then narrow into a kind of odd intersection where you're coming on a bend in Old Mill with Maple Hill coming down into
right,
it.
yes.
That's why I couldn't carry the 25 past the railroad tracks, because you're entering a paved roadway at that juncture.
Okay,
Maple Hill is the same thing. When you come off Maple Hill where it transitions in Shaftsbury to go essentially straight.
Yeah,
That's East Road.
to-
But when you go off to the right, you immediately go into a narrow section of nearly 16 feet at 35, which is really not appropriate seeing that it's so narrow. And then you go into a 90-degree turn, which also people should not be approaching that to slow down to what should be like a 10-mile-an-hour turn. Then you have that one stretch there, which is kind of downhill, but that's bringing you, if you left it at 35 at a high speed, into another sharp right bend that has a yield coming off Cider Mill. So those are the things you put into all this, and sight lines that you can say, this allows us to drop this down. You can keep going down Maple Hill, you have that sharp bend, an elevation just before the estate with a sharp bend to the left. And when you line all this stuff out, you can show that there's reasons to do this. And every road's been like that. There's only a couple that, like Bayhan and Grove, that have always been marked 25, but there was never any legislation making those 25.
I see.
But you can just, that has the same thing. You come 35 to a fork in the road where people are coming in each direction. So it's correct to be 25, but it was never authorized.
Right, okay. Thank you for that.
So I
I
think,
have a question, if I could just chime in. Sorry, Art, I just wanted to make sure that everybody get this in there. Would the board consider, for people that, the lovely lady just mentioned that she didn't know about the ordinances and people on her road didn't know about the ordinances and may have missed a time frame to give feedback, which is very important hearing from the townspeople, right? That's what the select board is here for, is to listen to the townspeople and help them. So my question is, would the board consider, for people that can't make it to the meetings and can't, have a very busy life and can't make it to the meetings essentially, but as the meeting minutes come out, the board consider sending the meeting minutes via more communication and email marketing to people that sign up from the town that want to know about what's going on and then what's going on with updates to the ordinances.
They're on the website.
It's all on the website after every meeting.
It's on the website, right, but updates, a lot of times when people go to websites, they're not gonna find where the updates are unless they're really getting into the nitty-gritty or they have an RSS feed update on the website. So I guess what I'm asking is, would the board consider more communication with the townspeople that want to get the information? Is the board willing to give more information to the townspeople for people that can't make it and don't know where to find it on the website?
this is a whole different
Yeah,
discussion than what we were talking about.
No, it's actually not.
Well, can,
Honestly,
we'll
there's.
we'll take it, can we take it up later? Because we're doing the speed ordinances
No,
right
because
now.
it's gonna get ignored. I just want a straight answer. Does
You're
the
not gonna
board,
hijack
will
the
the
meeting.
board be willing to have more communication with the townspeople?
We will discuss it, yes. We will,
Okay, I don't wanna miss it because it's really important. I'm
Yes.
hearing a lot of people in town that are not feeling heard, and I think that's a problem, and I'm speaking up for myself and a lot of people.
we will put it on the agenda for the next meeting and we will warn it and all that sort of
So you can't
stuff.
answer that right now. We're talking about the issues right now. You're not willing to answer that question right at the moment? Is that what you're saying?
This
I just
is,
wanna be clear, I just wanna clarify.
this is not an agenda item. We are talking about ordinances. It's not an appropriate time to discuss
Okay, we can bring it up in the other business
this.
section of the agenda then. This is just a straight, it's about the ordinances. Because.
No, it's about
people that have
communications.
questions.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, I understand. You're just gonna inform me, that's fine. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, the speed ordinance.
I'd like to just jump back to Cold Spring Road for 1 minute, if that's okay.
Yep,
So after that meeting when the roads were listed, I very, very quickly just reached out quickly to as many people as I could on the road. And I have the names of 14 people. You know, it's a very short road. I didn't quite finish getting to everybody, but I have the names of 14 people who would like to see the speed limit reduced. So am I hearing that there is a way to do that, or there is not?
There is a way to do it, yes, but but we can't do that right now.
Okay.
We have to look into it and justify it, and maybe the fact that there's 14 people on the road and so will allow us to do it, but we just can't sit here and say it's going to be 25. And we aren't going to...
No.
You need an
Okay.
engineering study to validate the
Yes.
speed change.
Yes.
And is there anything that I could do to support this from my end?
You could submit the names or have like a petition of those 14 people and submit it to us. You could just send it to me, at administrator.
I could send you the names, or you would like a petition?
Well, you can just send me the names and say these
Okay.
people support maintaining the speed limit on Cross Hill. Cold
Okay,
Spring,
sure.
sorry.
I'd be happy to do
Cold
that.
Spring.
Okay, so before we discuss any more, we really should have a motion before we discuss something more. I'd entertain a motion to table this until we have more information and that sort of stuff, but it's your pleasure. But we really shouldn't discuss it anymore without a motion.
Cold Spring?
The whole,
The whole ordinance
all of
has to be
it.
all or nothing, so.
I motion to table this
okay.
discussion
I have
on
a
this,
motion to table.
pending some of these folks'
Oh, yeah,
concerns.
there's a lot
Yeah.
here going on. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, 500. So this is going to be tabled. Nothing is happening without a lot more information and a lot more input and some studies, okay?
Great, thank you.
I'm just hoping I can get your information, sorry, the lady who just spoke, and I have several people who are also interested in this issue. I'll send you a message with my email. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward so that we can connect.
Okay. Closing of legal trail to motorized vehicles. Take comments. We won't discuss it. We'll just take comments, and then if we feel there's a warrants thing, then we'll make a motion to discuss it, okay? Who would like to come first?
I'm against it.
Okay.
Do you want to come up and chat? And we're doing this, Dave, so the folks on Zoom can hear us.
Yes, ma'am.
Our speaker system is a little finicky for the folks on the call.
Okay. You would like to use it for hunting purposes or for three-wheelers or all-terrain vehicles and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, my first worry was for the Brown family, if it stops the vehicles, because they would have no access to they must have a lot of acres there.
Yeah.
And it's a nice piece of land. I sent them a letter, but they're probably just about time to gotten there now.
Okay.
I think Don Brown died, and as I've written my letter there, and his daughter, I think, is put together the family trust. She's a lawyer. But the thing is now, there's not a lot. There was like 25 cars over there when they were logging in there. The guys saw deer and the cars were up and down. We were constant travel through, but now I don't think anybody, like tonight, I saw TJ go up to mow the final lawn at 5 o'clock. A quarter after 5, I saw one person walking up. I couldn't recognize him from the house. It was a fairly big person in dark clothes, but there's very little traffic, so nobody's getting bothered by it. But if something happened at the railroad tracks or something happened anywhere on a road, a bad storm, we could always go out the other way. And to give it up as a town road, you know, I see it's a town 4, and I noted in my last thing I wrote you that I maintain it. I've a pine tree right down, I cut the limbs, pushed the logs off, dug out the ditch where it made a pond, and picked up the stones. And today I was on my bicycle picking up the good part of the road is when I go for my bike ride.
Okay.
So I try to keep it nice. I always, when there's garbage, we don't wait for green up day. When I see something done on our road, I got it, it's in my garbage, headed to the dump.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Dave.
I've tried to take care. That's what I was a whole life a caretaker, for 40 years from Mr. Bingham. When I went to Aquanic, I went there as a summer help they didn't need. A good friend put my name in, and they offered me a job. I was getting $25 an hour as a private contractor. I went up there for $8 an hour.
Okay.
We cut corners in good shape for a while. But come fall, my job was done. But come fall, the Ladies Golf Association went to the Greens chairman and said, this man is staying. You're gonna make him a permanent crew in the winter, make a spot for him. He's gonna get a raise, he's gonna get a bonus, and you're not gonna make him wait a year for his insurance.
Okay.
And I was there.
Is there somebody else that would like to?
Thank you for your letters as well. We
Yes.
appreciate those.
I put a lot of work into it. I tried to be clear, and
You
I didn't know
were
what
very-
was going on at all. It shocked me, because I never dreamed I'd give it up. But
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak about it? Yes.
I don't have too much to add to what Dave said, but there are 4 properties up there, and access would be affected to those properties by the road being restricted.
Okay.
The other thing is that the wording in the proposed ordinance doesn't make sense to me, because it talks about pollution and damage on the trail, and I use that trail frequently also. I don't see anything like that.
Okay. So does anybody think this warrants more discussion?
I don't know if anybody else has
Oh, I'm sorry.
comments,
Yes.
so
I'm scared.
Dave, do you want to take your seat again, please?
Yeah.
Thank
I did turn
you.
in a motion there to just discard it, and a second motion to do something else.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
I've been in court lots, I've learned to make motions.
Good. James, thank you.
So just wanted to speak in favor. My husband and I both live along this trail where we're talking about closing it down, and so we have a first-hand view of the amount of traffic that goes through there. And it's not a highway, but it is a surprising amount of traffic, and it's not always respectful. So we have dealt with people coming and parking up on our property in the middle of the night, someone coming up and peeling out and tearing up part of the driveway in the middle of the night. And also, one of the main issues is that since it is classified as a road, trucks, people in RVs have tried to go down this road. We had a propane vehicle come down the road. So that seems like a main issue as well. It is a fragile ecosystem. The large trucks that drive through there are tearing that up. They're eroding our land that borders a rather large portion of the trail, and sometimes driving into trees. We had to intercept someone, a group of people actually, who were shooting into trees on our property along this trail. So there's this sense of kind of a free-for-all, it feels like, and I feel that it's only fair to restrict it as a safety issue. As I understand it, as I think Dave explained it before, it wouldn't be closed off completely, that there would still be one part of it open, so that might leave room for people to access their property. But I'm not versed in that exactly. But I just think it's important to hear from people who actually live along this area, and we're at the very end of the road, so we get the brunt of that traffic that's going through there.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks for listening.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to add a few things.
Okay.
The road says that it's Class 4 road, unmaintained. So when trees fall down, and trees from our property, we have people come and take those trees away, 1. Or 2, they go around the trees onto our property, killing more trees and killing more plants. I've been a farmer for almost 20 years. I'm very protective of, well, 1, my property, as I imagine many of you are, but also the ecosystem on my property. So it's not closing the trail, and people would still have access to their property because you're not putting up a padlock gate. So I don't see any issue with access to anybody else's property on there. The Brown family is an absentee landowner. But if they wanted access to their property, they would have it, just as in some people have their property in current use, and so loggers would be able to come in and do the logging. So I just want to make that clear. Like, the damage to our property is real, and it's only getting worse. And the erosion to our property is real and only getting worse. And that is of high concern to us, and our safety as well. When you have people pulling into your driveway in the middle of the night, their high beams on, their headlights on, just staying there, and then peeling out, you know, we feel unsafe in our own property. And for what reason, I'm not sure, because this road has not been used. It's not used for any purpose. There's no emergency vehicles that need to go over the road. They couldn't. So, you know, we're trying to maintain so people have access so they can run and bike and hike, and I think that's really important.
Okay.
So, but that's all I have to say.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a clarifying question that
Okay.
I don't quite understand. So if there are 4 property owners that live along this section of trail that we are closing, how are they so I know how you access your home via Hickory Hill. How are other folks that own land on this piece of property accessing it?
So,
Via ATV or via,
no, they have
4x4s?
They have driveways on other parts. The estate is one of the other large landowners. The other landowner is right before you get to the trail, so they have access to theirs. And like I said, the Brown family is an absentee landowner. There's been nothing there for I don't even know how many years. But they would also be able to have access, because we're not talking about a padlock gate or anything like that. So if they actually came and wanted to live there, then they would have access to their property.
Martha, just if I can clarify a little bit.
Sure,
The majority
please.
of the road frontage of the Brown Family Trust is on the Hickory Hill part that remains open, and the part of the legal trail that remains open. There are no landlocked parcels if this went into effect.
That's not true.
Well, there's a map there. Could you show me which one is landlocked?
There's a parcel that straddles the trail, and those landowners won't be able to get access to the upper part of it.
Which one? I'm sorry, I had this to bring up on the screen, but my VPN
I'm
is
sorry,
outside.
here, Lars, can you show us?
This parcel right here straddles the trail.
Yes.
The Bell,
So these
the
people.
Belsky? The
Belsky,
Some
yeah.
deck-
Belsky,
So
okay.
these
Well,
people
they
wouldn't
live
be
on
able to
Dexter Road.
access
Yes.
this property.
This part, but they would be able to
Right.
access the rest of
Right,
their
they
property
can access this
via
part of the
Dexter
property
Hill.
from here. But the Brown family can't access this part of their property because of the terrain. There's only one point of entry to the Brown property, and it's up here.
Okay, in this yellow part that we're,
Correct.
okay.
Part of the Brown family? Are you a part of the Belsky family?
Okay, so,
Thank you.
For the
Thank you
Belsky
for that
family,
clarification.
I will say that the part of the closure starts after, because they have the houses on the Dexter Road side, and that little parcel that goes up the other side, it's the same parcel, that would still be accessible from where the actual closed off.
So we're
trail
talking
would be.
about this
But the
person.
Brown property, I don't know anything about the topography there, that's,
The wording on the ordinance proposed is not clear where the trail will start. I'm going by where the sign is currently,
Mhm.
which is down below. That's where the town maintenance is currently.
Currently, yeah. Well, the same is in effect, we don't maintain the legal trail to the driveway of Mr. Peacock.
Right.
They access their home over the
Right.
legal trail, but we don't maintain that. The
Right.
same thing would basically be in effect for the second part of the Beasley property. Beasley, is it? I'm sorry.
Belsky.
Belsky.
Okay, before any more discussion, I would like a motion that we do discuss this.
So moved.
Moved by Mike,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's okay. We're open for discussion on it now. I think I would feel a lot more comfortable if we had a meeting, met here at 5 o'clock or 5:30, adjourned, went out and saw, because I'm really confused as to where the right-of-ways are, driveways, and all that sort of stuff. This really doesn't show it. And I would feel a lot better if I went there and saw it myself.
Feel, let's see. Yeah.
That-
I have 50 years, I can guide somebody if they want.
I'm sure you can.
Well, I think it would be helpful if everybody here.
Yeah, it sounds
And
like
I
all
think,
of you are
know,
very
or
familiar with
We can
it.
schedule that as a special meeting
Okay,
to do maybe, I don't know, when it's convenient on a Saturday morning or something, because we do it at 5 o'clock, pretty soon it's going to be pretty dark at 5 o'clock. So the board, if they want to do that, we can just make that a special meetings, and we can post that and notify people and have a look.
It's 4:32.
I think we want to make sure there's plenty of time. Okay. So is that,
So, yeah, I guess I motion to table this ordinance for the moment pending a walk through it with whoever interested parties
okay,
would take us through all the intricacies of this.
there's a motion by Martha. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. So that one is tabled until we go out there and see some things firsthand. Thank you very
If I
much.
can, no, sir, I don't know your name, can I have your name, so I
Lars
make sure you're
Severance.
notified? What is it?
I'm Lars Severance
Lars, is it okay?
of Maple Hill Road.
Okay.
Could I interrupt? Is there a way to enable the messaging system so that I can exchange a message on over Zoom?
To a third party?
Yes, there's someone else in the Zoom meeting.
I don't know if there's a way to message through.
So there's a chat function that you would
It's a
have to
chat, yeah,
enable,
which isn't
which,
enabled, I don't even know if we pay for it. Josh, if you want,
I just want to be connected to the lady who lives.
Yeah, I know.
Spring, that's all.
Josh, I have a website and a Facebook page, and all of my contact information is there, and I can get you connected with those people if you want to reach out to me. I also have my website address and email on the town website.
Okay, what's your name?
It's Martha Cornwell.
Martha Cornwell.
Yep, and you should be able to find it very easily on the town website, and I'll connect you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, we've tabled two of them. The third and last one is the firearm ordinance in the village residential districts and village center.
Hi.
Good evening, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
we use that kind of defines the area that for.
Just to set the stage, I don't advocate for the NRA, and I'm not a gun rights activist. My property has 1 foot in the village and 1 foot in the town. And I read the ordinance. I've also been around for 40 years, and so my kids have grown up, and other kids in the neighborhood too. And I guess I think there's a difference between hunting and shooting. And I would encourage you to look at the ordinance in that way. I think it's inappropriate for shooting, target shooting and that in the village zone, because it's a nuisance. I've got a neighbor that is in the town, he's not in the village, but He'll go out and do anywhere from 60 to 100 shots in an hour. And especially during my nap time, that's,
Can imagine.
it's,
Wow.
it's a pain. At any time. And I think that's the case, certainly. That's an appropriate thing. But it's also, you know, if I've got a woodchuck out eating my flowers or my vegetables, I would just like to take care of it without being a criminal. And I think that's the other message. I think there are a lot of places where young people, and I know they go down in this piece that I have between me and well, borders Perrin Creek, and it goes all the way up to T&M. It's just wetland and woods, and a lot of kids go down there, and they go squirrel hunting, and they go down there primarily with muzzleloader for deer, because there's a lot of wildlife in there. And I think it would be, if you pass the ordinance like it's written, if they continue to do it, they're going to be violating the law, and I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody in parts of the village where you can hunt. The other big thing about all of this is enforcement. And that's one of the biggest issues that we,
Yes.
you know, and it is not just this, but other ordinances. If somebody's out hunting, it's usually one and done, and they're, you know, that's it. And so how are you going to enforce it? If somebody's out there shooting tin cans for an hour, yes, you can call and you know it. But so anyhow, long story short, I think it would be an appropriate ordinance if it dealt with target shooting and leave it at that, but just to say that you can't discharge a firearm in the village is taking it a little bit to the extreme. So I would encourage you to take another look.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion that we discuss this?
Sure, Mike. So moved.
Motion by Mike,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 500. I've got I think the ordinance says that can't discharge a firearm in village center or village residential, but that area that you talked about is not village residential. That's R40.
Well, part of mine, but
It's like 1.5 acres of your first parcel that
Yeah,
is
but-
in village residential, all the rest of it is in R40.
no, actually, you've got this map identified wrong, so,
I don't think so.
yeah, well, you do.
Tell me how.
I'm paying taxes
No,
on it,
tell
Dave.
me where it's.
So, Dave Corey
Uh-huh.
bought Ed Colvin's house, and the two small, he has 8/10 of an acre around the house. And the rest of that 20 acres I bought from the Colvins. And that's all village.
Oh, so you're saying.
So that all the land behind,
So the street.
so you have the houses along Sycamore, all the land behind
So
there.
you're saying here that you own this land now?
Yeah, he owns this piece here. So
Okay.
these were two separate parcels in the houses in here. And then all of this is
Yep.
us.
Okay. And this, I knew wasn't .8 acres there.
Yep.
It's, funny. Okay.
So-
And
so-
that's the arbitrary, because you have to define this, so that's an arbitrary line that was drawn by whoever in the planning commission to call that village residential. Now, maybe we can look at that as removing that from village residential, because it's not village residential. When I looked at this, you know, because all your other properties are marked, that one isn't marked for you yet, I don't know why, but I was looking at that and going, why is this one, which is all behind all the houses, village residential?
I think it's been that way since
Yeah,
the
there's something through the
beginning.
map, yeah.
Well, when you adopted zoning in the 70s.
Yeah, Yeah.
So it just never changed.
Okay, I questioned that one myself.
Yeah.
So how would we redesignate a zone?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I'm going to leave that to you.
Yes.
But
We always get hard
Just a-
tasks.
we weren't so much concerned about Cleveland Avenue and all that sort of stuff, but as Parent Acres and Grandview Street and all those, by adopting this ordinance, it seemed to do a little bit better job of protecting where a lot of people live and that sort of stuff, and that's why we thought it was the right way to do it. Do you agree that they should be protected?
I think in the denser portions of the village, I mean, there's laws against hunting within 500 feet
Sure.
of a residence. So, I mean, there's existing statute there.
Okay.
Key is enforcement.
Well, all this came about because somebody on Cleveland Avenue, I think, complained about a shotgun going off. I don't know if it was once or several times. A law enforcement officer came and said to him, I can't do anything else
The
because
law
you're-"
enforcement officer did not come.
Oh, did not.
Because they claimed that we didn't have a enforceable ordinance.
And
And
that's,
that's what's to correct this. Now, we have an ordinance in the book that defines it as the old fire and light district, which of course is long gone. So to make any effective ordinance, you have to have some definable area, which is village residential and village center. That's the only way to really do it. Now, the easiest corrective pathway to this is to remove an obviously non-village residential property, that 20-acre property that used to be quarry, and remove it, because it is intended for Sycamore, Holiday Drive, but not going all the way back to, I was surprised it went all the way back to TFB Realty when I saw it. So maybe that's a little solution, how we change the zoning map. That's another interesting question.
I mean, I'm happy to sit down and
I can,
kind of talk through and brainstorm it, but I think every ordinance ought to be clear and enforceable. And if you're going to have it, they're saying they need that to be able to enforce it.
yes,
But
that's what happened.
then the question is, who's going to enforce it
Okay.
and how?
and that's always an issue with all the ordinances, because almost
Yeah.
every ordinance, because of the nature, a complaint can only be signed by the person who witnesses it.
Right.
And so if you call the state police or something, they're going to be there long after, unless the person who is the complainant to the state police or the sheriff actually wants to sign the complaint, but nothing can be done about it, frankly. But we have to have a viable ordinance in place. So,
Well, I'll look at it a little more closely. Maybe I'll come up with a suggestion.
yeah, well, I can see the,
Table this one too.
So I would say we motion to table this until we can figure out if we can adjust the
yeah.
boundaries of the,
Yeah, I don't exactly, I think Dave's correct that these were drawn back, you know.
and maybe,
Which is why we started a lot of looking at ordinances, because they're all so old that,
and maybe having a conversation with Chris Williams and the
Yeah,
Planning
yeah.
Commission to, chat about these things, because I know there have been some changes over the years
And I
with
think
some
this
of the
one
rural
property that
districts.
Dave's talking about is the one issue there, because it doesn't border on any village residential street. It's out back.
Right, it's an RR district.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
fire and
it's-
light district that's interesting. If you ever plot that out,
Thank you.
that was
Okay.
a head scratcher.
Thank you, Dave.
So you want a motion to table this?
Did Martha?
Yes, I think I tabled
that was-
pending,
that was a
yes,
motion?
us talking to
Okay,
the Planning
I have a
Commission.
motion by Martha to table this one also,
Okay, I can second.
second by Mike. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, 500. So, we have not passed any ordinances. We have tabled all three of them. And so we will be working diligently on trying to come up with some compromises and so on and so forth, okay? Any other comments before we go on to something else? Okay, thank you.
Art, am I able to talk with you and the board about communication in the other business section of this evening?
Yes,
Okay, great, thank you.
yep, under other business, we,
Good night, thank you.
Andrea, we are not prepared to discuss it, but we'll listen to you, okay? I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
prepared anything, okay?
No, I understand,
All right,
that. I'm just
so-
wondering if, if we can have that discussion.
Yes.
That's all. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay,
The DPW report.
DPW report. There is a bid going out. We have been trucking in gravel from Wallingford. I've been doing it. It was a bid process about 3 years ago. Price of diesel fuel, everything else has gone up, so I asked that we do the bid again, and also, I think I asked that at least be an end to the contract. Is it 2 years?
It's going to be a 2-year proposal.
As opposed to just open-ended and that sort of stuff, okay?
It's a straight trucking bid that'll be posted tomorrow, be in the banner, and the due date will be Thursday, October 13th by 3 p.m. The bids will have to be back in. And this is to replace the current contract we have.
Okay.
And so you said Art, your company has been trucking
I
gravel from Wallingford to the town for the town
I was
purposes?
awarded the last bid,
Okay.
okay?
And that is not a conflict of interest?
No,
Having
in
a
many
personal
towns,
business?
Local
Okay.
contractors have contracts with the town. And
I
as
see.
long as it's an open public bidding process. then-
Okay, I'm asking
everybody
just
can
for
bid on it.
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, at the opening of the bid, I will,
You will not be voting, I can
Yes.
imagine. Yes, you'll recuse yourself, yes.
I
Okay.
I would have asked the same question because it does appear as if it's a conflict of interest.
I
it's,
agree.
it goes out to the public, and anybody can vote on it, or anybody can bid on it.
Go ahead, you go first, I will speak after you.
Well, all the board work I've done over the years would have called that conflict of interest, but, what are you thinking, Andrea?
Yeah, that is definitely my main conflict of interest. As a consultant with the Vermont Small Business Development Center, a marketing consultant, I sign a contract every 3 months. In the contract, it says, I cannot do business, I cannot, reach out to clients that I work with the development center. They have to reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? That is a conflict of interest, and I don't see how it's not a conflict of interest. I understand you're a public citizen too, Art, but you sit on the select board. That screams conflict of interest to me.
So with this bid for the gravel, will it be similar to other bids like the sidewalk bid and things like that? We have a committee that we go through and
No.
we have things, so we don't do that
Most of our bid
process?
processes, rarely do we have committees to go. It's only on projects we do that. This is a straight bid, just like any other bid we would do for a service to be provided.
2 bids, right?
Yeah, like the 2 paving bids we have
Paving
tonight.
bids.
It'll be in the banner, it's posted on our webpage. We contact local people, just like we did last time, and
And then we just as a board vote
the
without
board
going
votes
through that
minus
kind
Art.
of form that we've gone through on some of our other bids?
Yes, and you
Okay.
just pick whichever one you want. And traditionally in these, there aren't very many bidders.
Right, of course, there's
So,
not.
it's kind of it's not a very profitable bid, but.
Okay, well, I would
But,
have to look at it.
In
Okay.
many towns, in many areas, this is not considered a conflict of interest because people own construction companies and they serve the community. It doesn't preclude them from trying to get business in the community. As long as it's an open public bidding process and the person who has the business and is bidding recuses themselves, it's not a conflict of interest.
Okay.
It's also,
That's good to clarify. I appreciate that
it's also an
clarification.
LLC, so.
It's an LLC, does that make a difference between?
It does, in a way. It's not a sole proprietorship, it's like a corporation.
There's nothing wrong with being a sole proprietor. I mean, I'm an LLC too, but I don't see how that would.
Okay.
They're talking about from an insurance standpoint?
What about insurance?
Well, I'm kind of confused as to what Art's saying, that it makes it more legit because it's an LLC versus a sole proprietor. I'm not really sure how that is relatable.
I don't even know if that's germane to the conversation.
It was just
Art, can you clarify what you just meant? I'm just not sure what you meant.
it was just a comment, that's all. I don't think
Oh,
there's,
are you retracting your comment now? I just want to make sure I understand.
Well, I think what Art
where
means
you're
is it's a
coming from.
corporate entity, so, you know.
So he's bidding as a,
A&K Services is bidding on a contract, not Art Whitman personally. So it's just it's a corporate structure.
So, but you don't see any conflict of interest there as far as like sway because Art needs the select board? You don't feel that at all? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's an open bid process, so
Right.
when the bids come in, people can come in and say, hey, I don't like Art's bid, and they can talk to the board at that time.
It's pure numbers, Andrea.
It's not.
It is, I'm
It's not.
sorry. It's pure numbers. It has nothing to do with personalities.
That's actually an opinion. Conflict of interest, what, no, I'm sorry, Tony. That's your opinion, and that's fine. Everybody's able to have their own opinion, but when we're talking conflict of interest, I'm actually, it's really disappointing, actually, to know that you don't feel that's a conflict of interest. And it's really...
Not when it's an open bid process. It's an
Sure,
open
it's an
bid
open bid
process, and it involves numbers. It has nothing to do with personalities. If you want people in this town to do business within this town, you have to understand that we have a limited number of people who still have businesses.
I understand that. I'm a business
Okay.
owner in this town. So you
I
don't
think
have to
that's
speak
the end
like
of the
that.
discussion,
Sorry.
Andrea.
No, you're not gonna silence me when we're talking about conflict of interest. I'm sorry. If you're gonna...
Okay,
speak
fine.
professional,
She
you're not
asked-
gonna silence me.
she asked who decides, it's the lowest number.
Right.
I'm
It has-
asking who decides the bid.
so the select board does,
Right.
Andrea. I think that we open the bids.
And the head of the
Yes.
select board is Art. That is a complete conflict of interest.
But he's
You're saying
recused
it's not.
himself.
That is a joke.
That's the whole point of
That is a
recusal.
joke.
Fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing
Fair.
by...
I'm not trying to diss Art and his business, but I think this is fair. It's the chair of the select board. And yes, it's an open bid, but and then the select board decides, that is nothing but a conflict of interest. And it's not just numbers, Tony, sorry.
Okay,
Thanks for bringing that up, Andrea. I appreciate
It looks
that.
like, is it Roberta? I'm sorry, do you have something to say?
Well, I just wanted, in my viewpoint, it's also a conflict of interest, but, you know, there's a conflict of interest statement at the beginning of each board meeting. However, when I connect with Zoom, we're always on item 4 of the agenda, so I've actually not heard the conflict of interest statement.
So Roberta, it did happen this evening before you had jumped on, and Art did say that he was bidding on this item from his company this evening.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I just wait to be connected, so I just, when I get connected, we're usually at item 4 on the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks.
okay. I gotta open the bids, or the bids of, this was for, what areas are we paving?
Struggling with the names tonight.
I'm trouble with names, right. The Hidden Valley and Birch Hill.
This one is from Peckham Road Corporation.
And can I just, while we're going through this, just ask a question about sealed bids, because this is something that I don't know a whole lot about, not coming from this industry. So when a company decides they want to go forward with a proposal, they come up with the kind of their fair market value of their services and their labor and what it should cost, but they have no interaction with you or anybody else. They kind of put it in an envelope, say, I'm gonna pay $2,000 to pave Hickory Hill, that's my bid, and then it goes to you?
Correct, and
Okay.
I collect them by the due dates so that we
Okay.
know that, I think that.
So it's fair?
Yeah,
Okay.
noon Friday, they have to be in my possession, so that at noon, and it has happened, someone's come in a couple of hours later, and I say,
The bid, or it's closed, okay.
and then we open the bids at this meeting, and like we'll do with these, with all these construction ones, we read the figure bid, and I take them and give them to Mike for the technical review to make sure we're getting what we want.
Oh, okay, Mike Yanati, the
Mike
town,
Yanati,
okay.
And then we move forward on
Through
it.
person, okay.
Yeah, all these bids are all closed bids.
And so they don't necessarily know from, like Peckham versus somebody else, what the other person is bidding necessarily?
In theory, if you want to win the bid, you're going to not be telling people what you bid.
Right, of course, I can imagine there's some strategy to
Yeah.
it, but okay.
But, yeah, as far as the details, like when we get
Okay.
into something more complicated, let's say, when I put out a bid, I'll say clarification questions can be sent by any potential bidder to me, and the answers will be published on the website underneath that bid, so that every bidder knows that, if A asked, what's the depth here, that answer would go to everyone.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Just like, that's just what they did.
Yep,
So Peckham's said that they will do the job for $142,535. What we do is we give this to Mike, because it's got the specs in here, it tells what they're going to do. Mike goes through and says, yep, that's what I want, that type of thing. So, because somebody may say they're only gonna do 1.5 inches and somebody else is doing 2 inches.
I see.
Although that was put in the specifications to begin with, so.
Okay.
So we have a bid for, again, the number is $142,535, okay? And this goes to Mike. And Springfield Paving in Claremont, New Hampshire. Their bid is $120,889.44. And it breaks down how much for each of them, but the total is still the important thing, okay? So, if Mike says both of these are equal as far as what they're doing, it is still up to the board. We do not have to take the lowest bid, but it's the town's money, so we
we
usually do.
try to be fiscally responsible,
But
yes.
there may be a reason that we don't take the lowest bid.
Sure, of
Okay.
course.
Price driven to a point, but you have to look at the companies as well, compare companies and their performance.
Exactly. Okay, this goes to Mike. Okay. Okay, do you have anything else?
Yeah, just some quick updates for what the DPW will be doing. Roadside mowing in Hidden Valley, Maple Hill and East Road and Holy Smoke Road. Grading is scheduled for West Mountain, Rollins, Shaftsbury Hollow, Granger, Horton Hill, Mountain View, and Glastonview. They're going to finish the ditching along East Road and seed and mulch all the areas that they've been ditching this year. And they're going to start putting the trucks back together for winter. As Mike and I were discussing the October 3rd storm of the 80s. He wasn't born yet, so we had to be reminded of that. But they're going to start that. It's unbelievable the time to get the things back together. They're finishing our dog kennel, which is really quite lovely.
Great.
Before I went away, we discussed picking up Shelley's old hut and moving that over behind the salt shed and converting the inside with a chain link fence so our animal control officer can walk in, the dog will be on the other side, cut a hole in the back, and we're building a little compound so the dog can be inside and go outside. There's other adjustments to be made, like the linoleum floor for cleaning and all that stuff. In the winter, it works out because it's kept Shelley warm for years. So all we have to do is put a little heater in if we happen to have a dog, but frankly, we don't have dogs very often impounded. So we would just put a heater in. The salt shed is all wired, so we'll just run an extension cord to keep the dog warm. And we can only keep a dog for 5 days maximum anyway, so it should all work out well. That'll be finished fairly shortly, which they've done a great job on. We've also saved an incredible amount of money. Because a couple of weeks ago, I had Casella deliver our new containers because we couldn't get anyone to build the ramp system we wanted. So Mike and I went out and we looked at it, and we've actually Tim made these quite creative little ramps so that they fit on top of the stone wall, and you can just put your papers in and they slide in, and the recycling slides into the other container. So we saved probably $30,000 just being a little innovative, which means then we can move on and replace that trailer with a permanent structure on the pad that was originally put there for the attendance shelter. And what I'm thinking about that is just going down to like the guy at the end of the road here. We'd have to put another bid, but and buying a prefab $10,000 little office thing and putting it down there and just changing the electricity over to that side and calling it a day. But it was good to get the ramp thing settled with them. Nobody wanted to build our very nice ramp system, so like I said, when we moved it in, we just started looking at it, and there was a way to fix it without getting too deep into it. And like I said, Tim did a nice job creating these things that work. So we're good for that. A few other things, continuing mowing the parks and actually getting that ready for winter. Got to winterize the system again for winter, and that should keep them busy for a couple of weeks.
As far as the parks, we aren't going to be doing anything with the, we finally got our wetlands permit, that sort of stuff. That'll be next year's project.
Yeah, because when I finally got the wetlands permit or permission, they didn't even bother with the permit, they gave us permission after a year and a half. There was 10 days left to apply for a $25,000 grant from the state. So I got that in on time. They always decide that grant in October. Now, just the projects we have in mind are going to be close to $100,000. So to sequence them correctly, I want to know if we're getting this $25,000. So by the time I hear that at the end of October, this season is pretty much done.
Okay.
And talking with Mike, we do intend to take on the Tillman Trail before fall and do a lot of tree work, replace all the material on the trail, and just so it can settle over the winter, because it's getting a little rough in there. But most all the projects, the other projects, will be taking place in the spring. It's just going to be impossible for me to get an answer by the end of October, put out a bid for a pretty substantial amount of work, and get it done before the snow flies. It's just not going to work.
Okay.
And then we have the LEMP. Don't forget the...
Yes. Yeah.
And skating rink on Cleveland Ave.
Well, I have quite an idea for some of these projects. The skating rink not on Cleveland Ave this year. That's not in the works.
Why?
It's just not enough project that we've gotten to. There's always a question of whether it was going to go back. And we need a whole new rink. Because the way it was installed the first time, it was a real maintenance issue, and it wasn't put in on level ground. So every time you got a fluctuation in the water level, people were skating on it, and there were multiple punctures all through the surface, which just kept lowering the water level. And so to do it correctly, you would have to do a large project over in the back of Cleveland Park to level it all out so that you could properly set an ice rink on there. And then you have the question of, is that the best location for it, how it would be monitored? This is all something that comes up, and something that we'll be talking about at budget time is, do we need a property maintenance person as part of the DPW, which would take on a lot of roles from assisting the cemetery with things that are not covered by the maintenance contract. We currently pay to have the parks, hire someone for the summer who's basically full-time to maintain the parks. We pay a company to do cleaning, we're looking, not to mention the sidewalk snowplow guy in the winter. So I'm considering the proposal of cobbling together a whole new 7th position that would address all these issues and provide flexibility for the highway crew and provide an extra person, especially in summer during vacations. And in illness during winter, we have 6 plow groups, 6 guys. So an illness in winter puts us down a route, and this person could also function in that role too. So when you combine the savings and the potential, increase in productivity, the total increase would not be like just hiring a new person out of the blue. We'd get multiple savings on multiple fronts. But that's just something that's spinning around in my head right now. So we'll have a better proposal for budget time for that.
Okay.
And that's it for
that on a DPW. Okay.
Yep.
Under other business, we have the local emergency management plan municipal adoption form. This basically is just saying that the local engineering emergency management must be adopted annually after town meeting day, so on and so forth. Just goes down through and at a warned public meeting, regular municipal adoption, the local emergency management plan on the date shown on the right, so on and so forth, October 3rd. So the select board has to, or the chair of the select board has to sign it, so we just need an authorization for me to sign it.
Just as a little background, I've certified the actual document because I believe I'm the only one in town certified in NIMS, NIMS 100 and 250, which is the National Emergency Management System. This is an annual thing that we submit, which I've already submitted to the state. This is just the select board approving. We've discussed it before. This paperwork kind of fell off the desk. So this is just to put us back in. And what this does is it gives us more FEMA money should we have a disaster. It increases it 10%. So it goes from 7.5 to 17.5%.
And is that just for this year because we have lots of funding coming out from the federal government, or is this just
It's an annual thing.
Cause?
Yeah, every year we do this.
And are there any other changes to this?
No, the major change was you.
Oh, lovely.
But you were in the select board and all that.
Okay.
But everything else is changed the same. It changes.
And Paul Dansereau is still
Paul Dansereau is the emergency management
kind of
director.
the manager for our town.
Technically the coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's really changed except your position on the select board.
Okay.
And eventually this will become a better equipped emergency operations center to move it out of the firehouse, which when you actually have an emergency, a center for, that would actually be a collection point for responding agencies. So it's better to have this operations center somewhat separate from it, because that can turn into a very busy place if we had a real issue.
And is the plan all on our website if people want to?
I can put it on the website. Nobody's ever
See
really...
it. I'm curious.
Yeah,
Not working in the department, I don't think I've ever seen the emergency plan for the town.
Okay. Yep.
That would be good.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to I'll make a motion to authorize the paperwork?
Second.
Oh, motion by Mike, seconded by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I'd like to read it.
Read this?
Well, no, read
whole
the plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have it passed 401, is that right?
Dave, it's under annual training on emergency. There was, at one point, the select board there was training available if you wanted it.
There's always training if any member of the board wants to get certified. Actually, it's now online.
That's what
I
I was thinking,
know Tim did it
Right.
too. I think that was ICS 100 Tim did, which is the foundation one. And that, it just gives you, ICS 100 gives you the basic overview of how an emergency situation works. And it's the outcropping from a couple of decades ago, probably when I was on the job, probably back in the 80s, when some things went off the rails. And it was mostly because, similar to an area like this, or even an urban area that has multiple jurisdictions,
Right.
it's really important. I did a plane crash in North Jersey where there was so many people there, and without a command post with strict ways of who's reporting to whom, it can really go sideways on you. So that's the whole intent of this, is you have a certain list. We list out what equipment we can provide, how many fire trucks we have, where people will be, and how it, how it would work. And it's kind of part of, but separate than the mutual aid agreement like we have with White Creek and that, so that if there was a disaster here, we could just go, boom, I'm in charge of this, Bart's in charge of this, Melanie gets this. For us, we're not the operatives out there in the field, but Joe calls and I need, a 1,500 kilowatt generator. Well, I'll find him a 1,500 kilowatt generator. And that's through another FEMA trail which can follow out here. So, that's the essence of it. But just to make sure that, towns have thought about it. Because in the old days, you thought about it when you were staring at it.
Right.
And that's never a good idea.
Right.
Okay. Any other business before we go on to Andrea?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if, besides Front Porch Forum, if there's any way the board would consider, and I know you might not be able to make a decision this evening, but consider any updates that go on the website, just maybe sending out simple, brief. It doesn't have to be anything huge, just simple email campaigns to anybody in the town that signs up and wants to know, what's going on in the town, how can they help, how can they support the issues, how can they speak their mind. I just know that a lot of people have been, including myself, want to know what's going on in town, and sometimes people can't make the select board meetings, or the minutes that come out, they just, they missed a topic. Had they known about it prior, they would have been able to either help, support, speak up. So I'm just asking if the board would consider just having more communication with town residents. Is that something that the board's open to?
Again, we're just listening to you because we aren't prepared to make any statements at this time. I'm curious as to, are the minutes posted on the website?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a common...
But they can't be posted until after they're approved, is that?
No, they're posted as drafts.
They're posted as drafts?
Yes, as soon as we get them, they're posted that day. So we're talking about, and having worked in other towns too, we always have this issue. The town puts out an agenda prior to a meeting. It is a public document. It's on the webpage. I know I posted physically in 3 places, but I know everybody looks at it on the webpage. So you look at the webpage, and then you can go look at the minutes from that meeting. There is no other real communication from the board, because the board, you can't all be having conversations that then we put out things about, because you can't have... Can I finish, Andrea, please? Can I finish speaking for a minute, please?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And then, if people look at the agenda, which is published, they'll know what's coming up. Rarely, in my experience, are things proposed for a meeting and decided and ended that night. I mean, look at this, we've been talking about ordinances for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, some couple of months. And as normal with ordinances and things like that, people kind of get aware of it in the last few weeks when it seems like a real deadline, they take interest. And that's why we can put the brakes on it and go back and look at it again. So, the agendas are out there, the minutes are out there. The select board does not have any other real communication, because to be putting out other communication other than individually, it's implying that you are having meetings, which would then be illegal under the Open Public Meetings Act.
No. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm not saying anything illegal. That's not where I'm going. I work in email marketing, that's my job. I follow the Canned Spam Act, which actually applies to a business. It doesn't apply to a select board. I'm not talking about the select board doing anything that's out of bounds. All I'm saying is, would the select board consider any updates to the website or agendas or, I mean, you talked about that, we've been talking about ordinances for how many months, but there was just a citizen here that said this is the first time they're hearing about some of the topics. So I'm gonna say that there are people that feel uninformed. So my question is, would the select board consider, and email marketing that's not coming from a Gmail or an Outlook account, that's coming from a campaign account, like a business account, or things like that. There's lots of inexpensive ways to go. And I know that you do, or Jen places some information on Front Porch Forum, but unless you're looking at every, piece of information that's coming out every day from Front Porch Forum, you're gonna miss something. But if it goes into your email, you're more likely to see it, especially if you're a town citizen and you want to hear what's going on in the town. So that's why I'm asking if the select board would consider, adding that other piece of communication. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
On top of the website. And as far as the website goes, if you're saying that everybody goes to the website, I'm really interested to know what those analytics look like.
That was just what I was going to ask. Is there a way for Jen to kind of give us a sense of who's and where things are getting clicked on, if there are things?
We probably can, but
Yeah,
just for my 2 cents here, and we should put this on a topic for another meeting.
Sure, definitely.
But excuse me a second, just for my 2 cents here, there's a duty of a citizen to inform themselves of what's going on in the community. And that duty can be easily fulfilled by a simple click of the town's webpage and looking to see what the topics are. When you get into marketing, are we marketing to specific sections of the community? Am I going to have email listed for this topic and that topic? The town is presenting information, excuse me, the town is presenting information on a town-wide basis. It's the citizens' duty and responsibility to access that information and respond as they feel. That's just my feeling on it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your feedback, Dave. So is the select board in agreement that we can talk about this at another meeting in the future, or are you saying that you want the conversation to end here?
I think, Andrea, I think you need to come up with solutions. I think you need to come up with a person that would be responsible for that. Right now, we have a limited number of town employees that are responsible for that information. I think to add more to their burden would be unjust, just because, and I agree with Dave in...
Is that what you're saying? Email communication is a burden?
Can I finish?
Well, you tried to cut me off on the last topic, so
Oh
I mean,
my God.
if we want to be fair.
Okay, fine, I'm sorry. Never mind, we won't argue. Goodbye.
No, I don't want to argue.
I'm sorry, we're not having a discussion, we're having an argument, and I don't want to argue.
Well, then, perhaps
All right,
we need to be
that's
more
it, I'm
professional.
sorry.
Let's move this to the next meeting then.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up one other thing, and I'll be done just really briefly. Earlier in the meeting, it was referred to the select board, select men. There's a woman on your board. Please be inclusive, and I know it was probably an accident, but there is a woman on the board. She's been there for a while, and they really think it's important to refer to the select board as a select board. We're also inclusive of the woman sitting on the board, so I would like to say that. Thank you.
One other thing on the other business, just to mention something that I saw in the minutes about the bylaw changes. The schedule for that is...
I think in December,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
and I
December.
misspoke when I said that.
I did
So-
see that, and I just wanted to bring up that it hasn't been postponed or anything. The
Right.
schedule is that we'll do the publication on November 14th, with the first public hearing on December 5th, and the second public hearing on December 19th.
Yes.
Just so if
Thank you
anybody was
for-
out there waiting, or wondering what happened to that.
Thank you for doing, I was going to bring that up and I forgot. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, any other business? entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Joe. All those in favor
Oh,
say aye.
time.
We have an
Oh, yes.
executive
I'm
session,
sorry.
so I thought that we were closing this and
Yeah.
then starting another.
Yes, we have to go into executive session for legal issues. So entertain a motion to go into executive session. So moved by Joe. Second by Mike. We'll go into Dave's room.
Yeah, that's all right with everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.